All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Sunday. It's daylight savings time. The chat is open. It's also International Women's Day today. So what's up to all the women in the world? How's everyone doing? What is important to you this week? How was your week? How was your weekend? And what are you looking forward to in the upcoming week? Man, happy to be on. Let's just converse. Let's have a conversation today about what's happening in the world. We're going to talk about US. We'll talk Nigeria. We will talk global. Yes, I see. I see those smiles. Hit those happy faces. Hoping that CJ is watching and she'll join us today from Canada. She's doing amazing things in Nigeria. Since we are talking about International Women's Day today, I just want to thank all of the women in the world for all that you do, particularly one of ours, CJ, based in Nigeria. She's helping to remodel a classroom in at a school somewhere in Nigeria. So she's helping with painting of the classroom. She's going to help with some lockers and some tables and chairs and also some doors. So kudos to what you're doing, CJ. And I wish you the very best in that project. So what else is happening in the world? I'm actually right behind me. I'm looking at what's going on in with the Iran-US Israeli conflict. There's a lot of burning buildings, burning homes, burning cars, drones everywhere. I got a chance to catch the dignified transfer of the 6 US service members who died in Kuwait. Um, let me play that. Actually, let me play that. So the President of the United States, let's say dignified transfer, and I'm going to share that with you guys in a second. I'm not going to play the, I'm not going to play the audio. It's just going to be all video. And I'm going to narrate over it just based on my experience having served in the US Army. And one second here. So it is always heartbreaking when you have moments like this. Um, during my time in the US Army, I was in for 3 years from 1998 to 2001. Although we didn't really do a dignified transfer, but a couple of our colleagues passed away during a training exercise at Fort Irwin, California. So we were part, at least I was part of the funeral, what they call a funeral detail team, where you go, you meet with the parents and the loved ones of the fallen, and you just show your respect. Um, but those soldiers, they died in country. So we didn't have to go through a dignified transfer. That usually happens when U.S. Service members let's say U.S. service members fall overseas. That's usually when the dignified transfer happens. But just a little bit of a story, at least what happened in my case in Fort Irwin, California. This was back in, I believe, in 1999 or in 2000, either 1999 or 2000. It was a training accident that happened in my unit at Fort Irwin, California, where we would go and spend days in the field, in some cases, a week or two. At that time, the threat to the U.S. at that time was actually Iraq, Saddam Hussein. So Fort Irwin, California, mimicked the desert. So we went there. We that was my base. We supported a lot of allied nations who come in to train at Fort Irwin, just sort of like mimicking the Iraqi landscape, the high desert landscape. So we would be in the desert for days and weeks at a time. You're looking at 120-degree heat in some cases. And in this particular situation, the two soldiers that died were actually in my unit, HHT 211 ACR, Fort Irwin, California, and they died in their tent. It could have happened to me, it could have happened to any one of us because sleeping in tents at that time, and the thing about the desert is you have hot days, cold nights. It could get up to 120 degrees in some days, and at night it could be as low as, let's say, 10 degrees. So it gets really, really cold. And what we would do is we would light up, very, very dangerous. No, we didn't really think too much about it, but we would light up some sort of like a heating system inside the tents to stay warm. Something that we have done over and over and over and over and over again. But in this particular case, the two soldiers who passed away, I'm just going to name their first names, Eric and Ruiz. They literally were sharing a tent. It's something that we all did together. We would sometimes you have 4 or 5 soldiers in a tent just sleeping on their cots overnight, just waiting to go on a mission the next day. That was what we did. And in this particular case, we all did the same thing. I don't know where I was. I'm pretty sure I was in a tent somewhere, but maybe I had a heating system on, maybe I didn't. But in this situation, they had a carbon monoxide leakage in one of their heating systems, and they just didn't wake up. They did not wake up, the two soldiers that died. So when that incident happened, of course, we had to fly to Northern Cal, not fly, we drove to Northern California. We had to do the whole funeral thing um, with the family and spend some time with their friends as well. We did the casket run and all of that stuff. My boss that I brought on last week's, I believe we did something a couple of weeks ago. She kind of mentioned a little bit about it on the funeral details that we went on as soldiers. So what's happening here? I'm gonna skip this commercial. This was done yesterday at the Dover Air Force Base. The I believe that's the C-130. The C-130. Let's go back to it. So actually, right there is not the C-130. That is the Air Force One. But they're facing. You see that ramp right there to the left? This is the airplane that brought the soldiers home. As you can see, you have the President of the United States. There's going to be a lot more of this, though, as if the war continues on. I'm not sure if the President of the United States is going to be participating in every dignified transfer or not, or maybe he sends a delegation team to do so, which might include the president and the vice president. But I don't think Trump is going to be there all the time. But these are the first casualties of the war. 6 U.S. service members um, killed by the Shahid drone, Iran Shahid drone in Kuwait, the first casualties of the war. So they're home now. They're going to be laid to rest. Right there, you see the President of the United States, President Donald Trump, flanked by the First Lady Melania, and then off to my right, her left, is Vice President J.D. Vance. The people behind are either military personnel or just part of the Trump cabinet. So let's go. Let's fast forward. I just want to share a little bit of. All right. So you see these soldiers? All of this is rehearsed, drilled and rehearsed. They are a part of a funeral detail team. Dignified transfer team. Nothing just happens. When it comes to the US military, everything is structured, everything is detailed. Nothing just happens for the sake of it. So what's happening is they've moved on to the left. I think they're going to show the clip of, and they're going to bring the soldiers out one at a time. See the president's salute there, just one at a time. That coffin or the casket is very, very heavy. Obviously, you have the dead weight plus the weight of the casket. So it takes at least six, minimum six soldiers. That's usually the process. Three on the left, three on the right. And I believe the guy behind them is the leader, the squad leader. Let's keep going here to see. So they've dropped off the first in a van. And here they are again, gloved, polished. Look at the cadence, the marching cadence. Left, right. Very, very detailed, very, very controlled. So right there next to JD Vance is JD Vance's wife. And then behind JD Vance is the USAG Pam Bondi, United States Attorney General. And some admirals and generals there too in that detail. And I think they're going to bring the second coffin. Just dignified, like respectful transfer. These service members gave, they made the ultimate sacrifice, you know. Remember, this is very early on in the fight. We've been able to so far control the taking down the drones. And I think I heard yesterday that only 8 missiles was fired by the Iranian forces yesterday. So currently, the United States and Israel, they have absolute air superiority. They control the skies of Iran at the moment. Iran doesn't really have an air force anymore. The Navy has been pretty much decimated. As of today, the U.S. has sunk at least, what, 40 Iranian naval ships. I think that's it. Thought there was a little bit more than that. So that's it. They're just gonna bring them out one at a time. And I thought I had a video of the van. Okay, let's see. Let's go. I think this might be it. Let's see if this is. So I want to show you guys the van that the soldiers were loaded in. Okay, that's it right there. So you see that cadence: left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Just very smooth, controlled. The spacings all designed. Look at that. I think that's like the C-130 or something. A huge, 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 huge aircraft. This bottom here closes up, and then this top here folds down. So the US Air Force One, Cadillacs. All right, so this is the beginning of it. So Donald Trump is the last person there. What rank is this? Is this a colonel? Yep, this is a full bird colonel. This lady here in the front. Ah, sad, sad, sad. It's never ever easy. CJ, what's up? CJ, what's up? CJ, what's up? I'll show you guys a dignified transfer and kind of walk you guys through a little bit of what's happening based on my experience in the US Army. We did two of these, guys, two of these when I was in Army, because we lost two service members in my unit, Eric and Ruiz. Yes, baby. Yeah, I'm hungry, but not right now. When I'm done. Yeah. Thank you. Love you, babe. Oh, you know what I'd like to have, babe? Coffee, please. More coffee. The girls are making their bed. Are you serious? Beautiful. Six of six of you watching. Where are you guys watching from? Okay, so you see that let me show you guys. So you guys were wondering about rank. Let me show you. This lady right here, mm, when she turns, I'm gonna pause it for a second. Okay. You see that? You see that right there? That is a full, it's what they call a full bird colonel. That is her rank right there. I think you have to be at least 8 years, 8 to 10 years in the US Army. I'm sure she's Army to earn the full bird colonel rank. So she's leading the, look at all those four-star generals. And then that's Pete Hesget right there, JD Vance, and yours truly, Donald Trump. So let's fast forward. I want to, so, okay, so that's the first of six coming out of the aircraft. Thank you, baby. Oh, thanks. Yeah. CJ, what's up? What's up? CJ said that people are saying it was disrespectful. This is in the chat. Hey, chat, post in the chat. Let's talk. Let's talk. Today's more of a conversation and less about me analyzing things. Let's just have a conversation. So CJ said people are saying it was disrespectful as it was supposed to remove his baseball cap. And when Fox News showed the footage, they doctored it by using old footage with Trump without a cap. So, CJ, remember, Donald Trump is the commander in chief of the armed forces. I don't think it's disrespectful. I mean, obviously he's wearing a USA a hat there. Uh, Optically, could removing the hat, it's not really a big deal. He chose to leave the hat on. It's not really a big deal. I don't think it's disrespectful at all. Showing up, obviously, it has to show up. First casualties of the war that he approved, and it's never easy when you are in as a commander in chief of the armed forces. Remember, you are authorizing and sending 18, 19, 20, 21 year olds to battle. And the chances of them all coming home, I mean, most of the US soldier service members are going to come home, but some are going to be lost in battle. It's just the way war is. So it's never easy when you're sitting there or standing there and you have to sit and authorize 18-year-olds into war. It's not easy. I don't think it's a big deal. Look at the generals. The generals had their hats on, didn't they? Let's go back. Maybe they'll zoom in. The generals and admirals, didn't they have their hat on? Don't they have their hat on? Don't they? I think they do. Let's see. Then we'll go back. I'm trying to see a photo of a close-up of them. Okay, right there. They all have their hats on. It's not a big deal. The thing is that people are always going to find something to criticize Donald Trump about. He has on a hat. He doesn't have on a hat. He stands a certain way. He didn't salute. He should have put his hand on his heart. Look at all these guys. They all have their hats on. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. They're just looking for something to critique. Yeah. So I don't think it's a big deal. Um, so okay, I want to stop sharing that for a second. So the soldiers are back. They're going to be laid to rest, possibly in Arlington Cemetery, and then the war continues. It's just, unfortunately, it's the way it is. You can't have a war where no one dies. People are going to die. Right now, it's just the six service members that we know of. Um, On the Iranian side, I believe over 1,000 people have died. I think some are saying like 1,000 civilians have died. But then when you look at the military, just look at the strike on the torpedo strike on the drone ship. 180 Iranian sailors were killed in that one strike alone. So we are taking some casualties, but the Iranians are losing more soldiers than the United States are. And they're playing defense right now. They don't really have a structured military. I'm talking about the Iranian forces. They don't really have a command anymore. They don't have generals anymore. I mean, you can't fight a war from under some bunker. It doesn't work like that. They don't really have any surface ground forces. Anytime they poke their heads out, they get taken down. So I just feel like at this point, I know that Donald Trump is calling for unconditional surrender, whatever that means to Donald Trump. Nobody knows what that means. But at this point, it's one thing for you to fight a battle that you know you're not winning. So you guys know that the Iranian president came out and said that he apologized to all of the neighboring Middle Eastern states, countries of the attack, saying, "Oh, we didn't mean to strike you. We just meant to strike U.S. bases." But remember, you are striking U.S. bases on the sovereign countries. The countries are going to fight back. You basically, when you strike a U.S. base in, let's say, Qatar, you're basically striking Qatar's allies. So, of course, they're going to fight back. At this point, issuing an apology is just a little bit too late at this point. And do you know why? It's like they're trying to save face, but unfortunately, it's too late. Um, and that is why the United States is one of the strongest armed forces. They know strategically what they're doing. There's a reason why we have bases in these countries. There's a reason why. Um, so personally, I just feel like so far, so many people have died. Um, Iran is fighting. Iran is fighting a war that they can't win. And there are some reports out there that saying that Russia is now sort of indirectly in the fight. They are giving intel to Iran regarding the positions of U.S. soldiers and U.S. Warships. But advising whom? Who giving intel to whom? The people that you're giving intel to, they're being killed on a daily basis. So intel is useless if you can't use it. You understand what I mean? Intel is useless when you don't have missile carriers to be able to launch. Think about it. Every time they come out, they might be able to get one or two shots off, but every time you get a shot off, you give up your position. And you're giving it up to what? Fighters that own the skies, like the US said. Uh, Israel and the United States right now, they are literally flying over Iranian skies uncontested. There's no dogfights going on. The remaining aircraft that Iran has in their Air Force, they are either old or they're all pretty much gone. So at this point, Donald Trump is sitting nice. The US, Israel is also sitting nice. They are controlling. Remember, every time, recently, they just announced what? The clerics just announced the leader. When those leaders poke their heads out, they're going to be taken out. You see, at this point, as a ex-military guy, you don't stop when you have the advantage. It would not make sense for the US and the Israelis right now to take their foot off the gas. Now is the time you have a retreating military. You have a military that's pretty much non-existent at this point. You just got to go and clean house. That's what they're doing right now. I told you guys in previous videos that I knew Iran was going to fall within a week because Iraq fell, what, in 3 days? Iran has pretty much fallen. Seriously, they're falling. So now what the United States and Israel has to go and do now is hunt down those military nuclear production facilities. And basically, if you don't clean them all out right now, make it impossible for Iran to even think about a nuclear program for the next 40, 50 years. That's what they're doing right now. They are weakened. At this point, Iran, unfortunately, it's on its knees militarily right now. Right now, they're just honestly, when they come out to fight, they're just gonna die. That's just the way it is. So I hope they surrender. I'm not really sure what Trump means by unconditional. There's got to be some sort of condition, though, if they want to surrender. There's got to be some sort of condition because you can't have unconditional surrender. Unconditional surrender is basically saying, here, do what you want to do from here on. Go ahead and shape our country, pick our leaders. That is pretty much what unconditional surrender means. I don't think Iranians are going to allow that, but they have to at some point give up. They have to. I don't know how the military community feels, but I think Democrats pursuing this cap issue is a losing idea, other than Fox using fake footage. I don't think the military community, like I said, I'm part of that military community. We don't really, it's not a big deal because it's not only Donald Trump that wore a hat. The admirals there in the video and the generals, they all have their dress. It's called a dress uniform. They have that on, they have their hat on. At the end of the day is the respect showing up. That's what really counts. I thought the president looked good. I didn't think wearing the USA cap is really a big deal, to be quite honest with you. But as far as the Democrats are concerned, um, they've tried everything. They went and did a Senate vote on the war. Should the war continue? Should the war not continue? The Republicans said the war has to go on. So they've lost that. So at this point, you just either have to support what's happening or you keep finding little distractions like the cap. Or you should have gotten there earlier. Or you should have. They're always going to find something. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. My wife and I would talk about this all the time. I'm not a Republican, I'm a Democrat. I'm a registered Democrat. I voted for Kamala Harris. But in a case like this, when you have soldiers, it takes a lot for you to enlist in the military or to be commissioned. We went through a lot. But at the end of the day, it's that brotherhood. That brotherhood, there's just something about being in the military with someone next to you. It's just that brotherhood that only the military provides. So they need to find something else to focus on. Um, uh, Maybe right now, I mean, I don't know, but right now the Democrats are just looking for something to distract the general public about. But as far as like the military community is concerned, we couldn't care less if Trump had a hat on or didn't. Couldn't care less. So what's happening in Israel? Well, the Israelis right now they're really stepping up they're really stepping up their military campaign because they're at a point right now where this is the only chance Israel has ever had and will probably ever have regarding this Iran Hezbollah issue. This has been ongoing for 47 years. No one has done anything about it. No US president has done anything about it, and then Donald Trump. So Israel is capitalizing on this once in a lifetime opportunity to keep Israel safe. Because it's not as if Israel is going out there saying death to Iranians. It's the opposite. It's the Iranians that are saying death to Israel at every turn. And the supporters of the Ayatollah, they're the ones saying death to Israel at every turn. So Israel is in a position right now to literally wipe out all that Iran has. And remember, it's not just the destruction of the Iranian military that they're doing here. They are also implanting intelligence all over Iran at this point. As they are destroying, they are also building defenses within Iran. Best believe you me. They are planting moles, they are infiltrating, they are building as they are also destroying. But now they have a little bit more, they have more advantage now. I'm talking about Israel than they've ever had to really figure out how Israel operates. And one more thing that you have to also realize is for those Iranian generals or Iranian military leaders and clerics who don't want to die in this war, they are going to turn. Turning is when you actually go to the other side and start giving intelligence. I'm telling you, do you think Israel and the US are just bombing around? They are getting intel from the Iranians. Okay, this is the facility that produces uranium, uh, nuclear enrichment uranium. They're gonna go and bomb that. Um, and now you're seeing like what Donald Trump said that some of the Israeli officials now are now asking for immunity as part of cooperating with the US and Israeli forces. So now when you have your generals flipping to the other side, you have your admirals, the ones that are left. I'm pretty sure some clerics are even flipping right now to the other side because they don't want to die. You're dying for a country that's already fallen. So this is going to give America an opportunity to plant intelligence infrastructure within Iran, for what's left of Iran at least. But it's unfortunate to see people losing their homes. People are fleeing right now. Iran has pretty much shut down all communications. Iranians cannot talk to each other. There are reports right now coming from the Iranian side that over 500 soldiers, US soldiers, have died. It's all false. This is just a way for them to juice up their community or the citizens of Iran to show that they are fighting. But less than 10 American soldiers have died in this war. And what we are going on today is what, Sunday. So this is what, the eighth day of the war now. You know. Trump doesn't realize that people have pride. Trump has pride. Trump has pride. But Israel is genociding. Israel is not genociding. Oh, I don't think that they're genociding, right? It's a war. It's not as if Israel is ramping up civilians and killing civilians. They're not doing that. They are really targeting military personnel and they're targeting military infrastructure. You're going to have collateral damage. There's just no way. Something is going to not hit the target. And in the case of the school, you guys saw the report now of the elementary school. I think 105 kids died. Israel is saying that is Iran is saying that it's from the Israeli-US missiles. US Israeli, they're saying that, oh, it's the Iranians that did it. But the investigation is still ongoing. But um, let's just say that it just happens to be a US Israel missile. It wasn't intended. It's not as if we are aiming. We don't have a reason to aim at schools. What does the United States benefit by aiming at elementary schools? Nothing. So some of these bombs they're going to go astray. I mean, look at what Israel is doing. Sorry, Iran is doing, targeting hotels. What are you targeting hotels, high-rise hotels for in Dubai? Why are they targeting the Dubai airport? These are civilian facilities. So you're going to have collateral damage, but I just feel like the 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 war needs to stop at some point. So at least Trump is saying that it's going to last 4 to 6 weeks. So we are already what, a week into it. 3 more weeks, 3 to 5 more weeks is a long time. Is a long time to be fighting the United States and Israel. That's a long ass time. So who knows what's going to become of the country after the 6 week? I mean, do we keep going? Do we stop? I mean, at this point, I just think that Iran should just come out and start working out a deal or go back to the negotiating table. Actually, I think they tried doing it. And Trump said that it's just too late at this point, that all he wants right now at this point is unconditional surrender. I mean, wouldn't you want the same if you're in a position of strength? You're going to want the same now, unconditional surrender. Oh, honestly, we are all tired of Middle East instability. Let's hope it all gets sorted out. Yeah, but listen, the Middle East, has the Middle East ever really experienced peacetime in the history of the Middle East? I've been hearing peace. I was watching an old footage of President Jimmy Carter in the 70s talking about peace in the Middle East. Peace has been ongoing for decades. I think this is probably the closest the world has come to peace in the Middle East. And it lasted all of what? A couple of months? And then the US and Israel launched. I mean, they pretty much solved the whole Gaza matter. That was done deal. We moved on. We had relative peace in the Middle East for what, a month or two? And then this Iran matter happened. And here we go again. So we don't know what's going to happen after this. Who else is going to spring up? I think Iran is the only nation in that region. I would probably say Iran and let's say Yemen are the only two, I would say, problem makers in that region. Iraq has been stabilized. Iraq is not threatening anybody. Who else in that region is really causing problems? I think it's Yemen and Iran. The others are successful. Saudi Arabia successful, Qatar successful, the United Arab Emirates successful. Everybody else in that Middle Eastern belt are doing pretty well, with the exception. Okay, I'll probably throw Lebanon in there. I'll probably throw Lebanon in there because that's where Hezbollah is. And then Yemen is where the Houthis, that's where they are. But those are smaller countries though compared to Iran. And now Trump is talking about Cuba is next. He wants to do something with Cuba. Trump is really in the Western Hemisphere business. He's trying to keep the Western Hemisphere as safe as possible. I hope we don't start anything with Cuba though. Just Cuba is just a small island. They don't really pose any military threat to the United States. And if you think about what's happening with Russia, Ukraine now, people are saying that, oh, Russia is winning because of the US-Israeli war in Iran, that the biggest winner out of this is Russia. Russia is actually the biggest loser out of this because now they don't have Iranian military support anymore. Because Iran was the one doling out drones to Russia to use against the Ukrainians. So now that Iran is pretty much gone, US and Israel are now pretty much controllers of Iran. So now Russia is even more isolated than ever before because Iran is one of the few allied countries that they have. It's Iran, it's China, and I think it's Belarus. Outside of that, Russia is isolated. China is isolated in a bit, but China is one of those. China is what? They don't really get involved in wars like that. And they don't really choose sides like that. So you don't see reports of China offering intel to the Iranians, but the Russians are. Why? Because the number one customer of China is the United States. China needs American capital. All the things that's happening in China right now, the majority of Chinese customers, most of them are in the United States. So China has to protect that relationship. And all they can do is just say, oh, I'm hoping we want the war to end. Let all the parties involved, let them come together and sit down and iron this out. So that's all China can do. They're not going to supply Iran with intel. They are not. Russia is the only one doing it right now. I don't even know why. Because it's not as if they can, um, it's not as if they can affect the intel that they're receiving. If I tell you, hey man, there's a formation of US soldiers next door, and you don't have the soldiers to prosecute that formation. That's what's happening right now in Iraq. So Russia can say there's a formation of US soldiers here, there, and there, but the Iranians, they don't have the force, they don't have the weaponry, they don't have the drones anymore to be able to prosecute that intel. Then what use is it? It's really of no use. Six of you, where are you guys watching from? Post in the chat. Post in the chat. So what does you guys want to talk about? Should we talk about Nigeria? Should we move over to Nigeria and talk about what's happening in the country? China is focused on Taiwan. Yeah, but they're not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to annex Taiwan because the US is going to get involved in that. Do you know what the Chinese want from Taiwan? Is their semiconductor business. They want to chip manufacture. Taiwan right now is the largest manufacturer of AI chips in the world. China wants that. But Taiwanese don't want anything to do with it. China right now, they can't go and try to annex, I'm sorry, annex, I said annex. They can't try to annex Taiwan right now because the United States is going to get involved. And when you have US and China going at it, uh, it's a what? It's called a zero-sum game. Nobody wins at the end of it. So they are better off, the United States and China are better off just have their differences, but they are better off and they are stronger just working together. Contrary to what you guys might think, the US and China, they have a very good, they have a very strong relationship. Contrary to what you guys might think. On the surface, it might seem as if we're fighting, but beneath that, they have a very strong relationship. So it's not going to make sense for China to go after Taiwan because NATO is going to get involved, and you're talking about an all-out war, zero sum that nobody is going to win because when they start dropping nuclear bombs on each other, none of us are going to be here. I'm not going to be here to be able to talk to you. You're not going to be here to be able to listen to me talk to you. They're probably going to wipe out each other. So what's the point? It's a zero-sum game. Nobody wins at the end of it. Um, let's talk about Nigeria. Let's see what's happening in Nigeria for a second. So finally, actually, NITCOM, since we are on Nigeria, for Nigerians who I wanted to share this, who are in the Middle East looking to get out. I saw this article, yes. So NITCOM has released outlines for Nigerians in diaspora who are affected in the Iranian war. NITCOM is the Nigerian in Diaspora Commission. They always spring into action now to help distress Nigerians abroad. So this is the number that the emergency hotline that NITCOM has issued for those in Abu Dhabi, the Embassy of Nigeria in Abu Dhabi, consulates in Dubai, Embassy of Nigeria in Kuwait, that's the numbers, the mobile numbers, Tel Aviv, Israel, in Qatar, Lebanon. How many countries? Because una fool everywhere, Nigerians, una fool everywhere. And this is not by force. Remember, it's for those who want to leave. Nigeria is not forcing anybody to leave. Who's this one? This one are 2020 now. I'm looking for something recent. Nigerian diaspora, the Egyptian border, honorable. Okay, it's a media. Okay, I don't want to log in right now. So it's for those who want to leave. The Nigerian government can't force you to leave the Middle East. But if you are willing to leave, to return back home and return back to where you used to live when the war goes down, these are the hotlines that they want you guys to call for emergencies. So save that number. If you're in Lebanon, Dubai, Saudi Arabia. So that's it. Let's see who else. Didn't Obi just announce? I know CJE, you're going to like this one. Your Peter Obi just officially joined the ADC. Obi just joined the ADC. Pope praise, that's not what we want. Okay, that's it. That's it right there. Obi is CJ's this is your personal CJ. So he has officially registered with the ADC for the 2027 general presidential election in Nigeria. And we still don't know what Obi is running on. Are you running on insecurity? Everybody's running on insecurity. Everybody feels they can make Nigeria safe. That's what Obi is running on. So he's saying that Nigerians will be voting against bad leadership. Since when has leadership been good in Nigeria, Peter Obi? It's not as if we had a wave of great leadership and then bad leadership all of a sudden took over. Nigerian leadership has always been very, very poor, according to Obasanjo. Remember, Obasanjo was the president of Nigeria from what, 8 years, 2 terms. He has never recalled the time that Nigeria had good leaders. And when you think about 65 years of independence, we've never really had, Nigeria has never had our own version of, let's say, George Washington or a version of Abraham Lincoln or a version of, let's say, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan. These are good. Oh, John F. Kennedy. Let's not forget. Dwight Eisenhower. The president that built the US interstate system was President Dwight Eisenhower. Nigeria has never had anybody that you can tie anything to that benefits Nigerians. And we haven't had it in 65 years. When are we going to have it on Obi's presidency? The cool thing about the US succession is each regime or each administration builds upon the administration before it. Nigeria, we don't really have. So when did the independence, when did we go back to, let's just forget about the military regimes from 65 up till 99. Abacha died in 98, and then Olusegun Obasanjo became president of Nigeria. So let's say Nigeria's fourth or fifth democratic republic started in 1999. So Olusegun, I know Obasanjo came in and introduced Nigerians to communications because prior to Obasanjo, remember, we used to have to go to Nitel to make calls. Obasanjo was the one that brought MTN into the country. Obasanjo introduced Nigerians to the new age of telecommunications, mobile phones. And then after Obasanjo was what, Goodluck Jonathan, and he did nothing for 4 years. And this guy came in, Buhari came in for 8 years and really did nothing. And now Tinubu is doing his thing. So there's really nothing for you to really ramp on. That's the issue that we currently have. You would think all of these guys, one of them would have been tied to solving the security issue in Nigeria, even better, solving the energy issue in Nigeria. No, they're all still happy with their cranked up generators. And everybody is their own solar energy supplier. That's not the way a country moves forward. So this whole thing that he's talking about He doesn't really have a position. He's not running on anything. So now that you are now the ADC, you've now thrown in your hat and made it official that you are the presidential candidate of the ADC. They still have to do a primary. Oh. They still haven't done their primary yet. That's when they select the official and vote for the official presidential candidate, who is then going to select his running mate. So the two front runners now are Obi, Atiku, and I think Rotimi is also interested in being president. Rotimi is the former governor of Rivers State. So none of these guys, you can't just be yelling. You can't just be yelling security, security. There's more. And one thing about Obi too is Obi, if you want to take somebody from point A to point B, you just can't say, okay, we need to go from point A to point B. What is the plan? How are we going to get from point A to the point B outcomes that you're looking for? So the outcome, according to Peter Obi, the outcome that he wants is insecurity has to go away. That's his outcome. That's what he's campaigning on, or he wants to campaign on. That's his message to the Nigerian people is insecurity is a problem. Nigerians are getting killed left and right. We need to solve the insecurity problem. But how? I am more interested in a game plan. If you are leading a soccer team, you guys know World Cup is coming. Everybody wants to win the World Cup. But what is the strategy behind each team? What strategy does Brazil have? What strategy does the US have? You've got to have strategy. And you have to be able to make the people believe in your vision. But we've heard this story before. It's the same thing with the energy crisis. We all know that we need light in Nigeria, but no leader, since Obi is talking about we have bad leadership, what does good leadership look like? That's my question to Obi. What does good leadership look like to somebody like you, who was largely a poor leader when he was the governor of Anambra State for 8 years? So then define good leadership to me. And then once you define good leadership, then how are we going to get to the outcome that you want in securing Nigeria's borders? Okay, I'll give you a specific example. If I'm posting a question to all these candidates, we need to secure Nigeria's borders, but how are we going to do it? Do we have satellite technology? Do we have drone technology? Do we have human intelligence on the ground? What steps is it going to take? Is it going to be in developing economies? If you look at all these regions that are affected by these insurgencies, they have zero economy. Let me give you an example. Why do you think Lagos doesn't have insurgency problem? Because Lagos is a bustling economy. People are too busy making money to be causing trouble in Lagos State. You see, that's what you want. You want a robust economic landscape that not only promotes local investments, but also attract foreign investments. A climate that people want to come to do business. Tourism, a climate that people want to take a vacation. Look, when you have 2 weeks to take a vacation from your job, we need to start making Nigeria a place that people think about. We are doing a little bit of that though with Dirty December. A little bit of that is growing. It's still young. It's still new. That is what solves, or what at least what can help solve parts of the insurgencies that we are we are facing right now. Because Lagos is going to do everything possible to protect Lagos because it's a successful economic state in Nigeria. Same thing with Akwa Ibom State. They will they will set certain laws in place to punish capital crimes because you don't want that place to be a breeding ground for terrorism. All these affected regions need something. Everybody needs a version of their Lagos in their states. And in your own case, CJ, because your governor, Abia State Governor, Governor Oti, he's building something similar to the framework that Lagos and Akwa Ibom has. You see, when people start, let me give you an example. People actually come to Akwa Ibom State for peace of mind. You see, that's the branding of Akwa Ibom. We are known as a place where you can actually come and sleep with both eyes closed. All those guys live in the southeast. And that's another thing too with this southeast. Obi needs to stop doing that rubbish. If you want people to take him seriously, you cannot segregate Nigeria. We are all Nigerians. Obi has this thing of just preaching, oh, the next president must come from the southeast. Says who? The Nigerian presidency should not be zoned. It's not the way democracy works. It's not like, okay, well, Southeast will do 8 years, Northerners will do 8 years, Westerners will do 8 years, South will do it. It's not the way democracy works. Democracy of the people, for the people, by the people. If you are qualified, you see, I don't care if the next president out of Nigeria comes out of the north for the next 50 years. So far as that person is qualified and you campaign and you run for office, every natural born Nigerian right now, if you meet a certain criteria, you can run for office. You meet the age requirements, you meet the, oh my God, I'm watching, there's a huge screen behind me right now. It's like freaking Iran is empty right now. The roads of Iran, empty. So if you are qualified and you meet the basic requirement, you can run for office. That's what I want to hear. It doesn't matter to me whether you are from the southeast, you are an Igbo, you are Yoruba, you are an Akwa Ibomite. It does not matter to me. That is what Obi needs to start talking about if he wants to gain the support of all Nigerians. When you are start targeting just the southeastern parts, you limit your base significantly. Are you for the Nigerian people or are you for the Southeasterners? Right now, it seems as if you are for the Southeasterners only. So somebody like me isn't going to take you seriously because you are not talking to me. So for those regions to really thrive, the framework I'm saying is this. We got to make those regions economically viable. Because let me tell you something, when you start making money in a thriving state, you are going to do everything in your power to not disrupt that. From the citizens, from the residents to law enforcement, because life is good. Everybody is eating. Everybody is fat. So then why are you going to allow, when you hear somebody planning some sort of mischievous thing, you are going to report to that person? And they always say success begets success. You want more of what you have. If you want $1 million, you want two. If you want $2 million, you want three. If you want $3 million, you want four. Maybe not for the money, but maybe for the drive to say, okay, I can accomplish this. Sometimes there's a certain stage you get in your life where you stop optimizing for money and start optimizing just for results. There's so many people right now doing it. A millionaire that wants to make 2 million isn't necessarily doing it because of the money. They are doing it because of the challenge and the drive. What is the next objective? It's the drive that fuels them. It's the same thing that has to happen with Niger. Lagos is successful, people are making money, but it's not because how much? There's a certain amount that you make that covers all of your issues, covers all of your bills, covers your life, covers your children's education, and then everything else is just extra. So we need to get to that uh, point where we are developing these regions, and it can't start from the state down. It has to start from the local government up. Because the local government is more closer to the people than the state government is. So all of this, to be honest with you, it starts from the local government level all the way up. It's the same when you look at the state of Nevada, it starts at the county level, all the way up to the state's government. But you guys are looking for the problem to be solved from the top down. It has to be solved from the bottom up. Otherwise, this Lagos is going to continue to be successful. Akwa Ibom is going to continue to be successful. They are all states within Nigeria. What happened? Something happened. Somebody decided that we would rather be a successful state than a poor state. Somebody made that choice. Guess who is the important decision maker of that choice? The residents. The residents. They just need a leader at the top to say, I see you. I see your vision. I see what you want. And I'm going to do everything within my power to ensure that that happens for you. That you are able to wake up every day, go about your life, and not have to think about getting mugged on the road. I'm going to fix that. That you can ensure that your kids have good schools. I'm going to fix that. Obi wants to do handouts. Obi is talking about he wants to lift Nigerians out of poverty. How? By giving them money. That's not how you lift Nigerians out of poverty. The people have to first and foremost believe. They have to first and foremost want the best. And then the governors will come in, the state officials of the what do you call it? The local government officials will now come in and start working because they're the ones that are closest to the people. Your local government chairman is closer to the people than your governor. What about the Straits? To prevent insurgency, they need to get the Iranian economy doing well. She said, what about the Strait of Hormuz? Let's look at the Strait of Hormuz. Very, very important strategic. For those of you who don't know, I'm gonna pull up the Strait of Hormuz here for you guys. Okay. Map of the Strait of Hormuz. And let's talk about that. How important this is. Is it, how do you spell it? Humus? I don't know how to spell it, but I'm sure chat will figure it out what I want. Okay. All right. I'm waiting for this to catch up. Okay, so this is the Strait of Hormuz that CJ is talking about. Iran, this Persian Gulf, this is where the majority of the world's oil, I think 1/5 of the world's oil supply flows through this little curved path called the Strait of Hormuz, which is from the south to the north is only about 30 miles wide. It's not really that big. So Iran controls this, but well, not anymore. The US and Israel now control the Strait of Hormuz. So when oil is pumped from the Persian states like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, it's pumped through there and then it's piped through this. So ships pretty much come in from the west, sorry, from the east to the west through the Gulf of Oman, through the Strait of Hormuz right here. They'll collect all of their oil and then they'll go back to where they need to. See right here, you see how it's closed here? There's no exit. So this is where it stops. All of 1/5 of the world's oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. Very, very important strategic point. So they come in through the Arabian Sea, through the Strait, get all of the ships pumped and piped, loaded, and then they go right back. So in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. If this Strait of Hormuz is compromised, it's gonna drive up the price of fuel at the gas station. So they are saying that the Iranians might put up some mines here to affect ships, but all of the naval forces here in this circle that Iran put in place there, they've all been sunk and they've all been destroyed. So you look at the left there, you see Iraq has access right here to the Strait of Hormuz. Kuwait is right there, perfectly positioned, and everything is piped. Everything is all underground, piped through Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Oman. Everything is piped through here into the ships. And then it flows in and out. Very, very important. So this is what Iran is always threatening to block. Oh, every time there's an issue with Iran, we're going to block the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to block the Strait of Hormuz. So that's the Strait of Hormuz, guys. Very important. Get to know this because this literally controls the majority of the oil flows in the world. Yeah. So CJ said, talk about the Mehdi Hassan interview. I don't know who is that. I don't know who that is. Oh, you mean is it the video you sent me? So in the original or hemispheric world plan, do you think Trump sees Nigeria as the African leader? I don't really even think Trump is even looking at Nigeria like that. Nigeria just needs to be stable. Because remember, if Nigeria falls, Nigeria is the glue that's holding the African continent together. Particularly, you see, we are in that Sahel region. South Africa it doesn't really impact South Africa much because they're too far off south. We are in the problematic Sahel region. We are neighbors with one of the most problematic countries in Nigeria, in Africa. Let's look at the Sahel region and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Let's look at the Sahel region and you see why it's important for Nigeria to not let that region fall. Okay. Let's look at the Sahel. All right. All right. So look at that. This is the Sahel region. I want it to load up in a second. Then we'll talk about it. So you see why it is an important area. You look at this orange. I'm sorry, guys. You guys can hear my kids yelling. They're playing. So look at this orange heat map here from the west to the east. So you have Senegal, Mali, Niger, Chad, Sudan, and Eritrea. This is what is called the Sahel region, the most problematic parts of the African continent. And Nigeria kind of bleeds into it. You see the northern part of Nigeria there, how we bleed into the Sahel region? See where my mouse cursor is? That is where Borno is. That is where Niger State is. The border Niger. This is where all of the insurgencies flowing into Nigeria. So if Nigeria all of a sudden turns orange, okay, where's my... If Nigeria all of a sudden turns orange and becomes part of the Sahel, we are in trouble because every other country is going to be affected. Benin Republic is going to fall. Cameroon is going to fall. You see, South Africa is all the way here. They don't have a problem in South Africa. So Trump is not it's not as if the US is interested in Nigeria because Nigeria just happens to be this great nation. They're interested in Nigeria because Nigeria can't fall. You see, this northern part of Nigeria needs to be green. That is why it's not um easy to govern Nigeria when you have Niger as part. You see, Niger is orange. For Nigeria to be truly safe, Niger needs to be not be part of the Sahel. This belt right here. This east west east belt is the issue. Majority of Africa's issues right here. You don't really hear about uh, Congo, Kenya, Tanzania, Angola. Do you ever hear of problems with all of these sub-Saharan nations? Hardly. It's always these guys up here. So the orange heat map at the very top, Mauritania, Algeria, Libya, Egypt. This is what is called the MENA, the Middle Eastern North African regions. Morocco is there too. Tunisia is up there with them. So Nigeria is a strategic partner of the United States. We just don't want Nigeria to fall because if Nigeria fall, Africa as a whole starts to decay. We just don't want that. So the Trump says, I mean, Trump sees probably South Africa, to be honest with you, from a GDP standpoint. South Africa is number one in terms of nominal US GDP. They're number one, followed by Egypt, number two, then Nigeria, number three. So if I were the United States right now looking at let me go off here. If I'm the United States right now looking at how would I look at Africa and how can I point out who the leader is? I'm going to look at the country that is the most stable of them all. And right now, it happens to be South Africa because they are the richest in GDP. $450 billion output, GDP output, nominal US GDP per year. Nigeria is at maybe 285 to maybe 295. I don't think we've cracked 300 yet. And then Egypt is right there in the middle. So South Africa is technically the richest nation in the African continent. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. But we also have, the thing about the African continent is we just have a geographical issue. Because the African continent was only colonized for what? Only 60 years. It's not as if they were colonized for 100, 200, 300, 400 years. There's a reason why the uh, colonial powers left because they tried and tried and tried and tried. At the end of the day, they said, you know what, this continent problem today. Let me focus elsewhere. So people think Africa has resources like that. We really don't. It's not as if the African continent is special or the African continent has rare earth minerals that the rest of the world doesn't. We have some, but if Africa were to go away today, Asia will still function, Europe will still function, North America was, if Africa, think about it for a second. If Africa were to be no more today, the other worlds will still function. But remove the other worlds out of the equation. Africa can't function because Africa imports. Africa is dependent on others for everything. There really isn't one nation in Africa that you could say is a manufacturing leader. Oh, this country, when you're thinking about African manufacturing, that's the country you should look into. When you think about technology, that is the African country we should be talking to. When you think about services exports, that is the African nation we should be talking to. We don't have that. So the world just sells to Africa because Africa, where all we do is buy. We are consumers. consumption economy. Let us buy everything else that the world produces. That is Africa today. It's not let's produce and sell what the world wants. It's let's just buy, 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 buy. Let's buy technology. Let's buy training. Let's buy commodities. Africa is also, the world is saying, okay, fine. And the thing about it is like, it's not as if we are also buying the best. It's we're buying it. They always say Africa is now a dumping ground for just poor, subpar quality products. It's not as if we are buying top-notch quality products. We are buying subpar, below subpar, self. That is why you hear that Africa is the dumping ground. The Chinese will come in and dump everything that the world doesn't need into Africa. Do you guys remember back then when we used to buy this used clothes? Pallets and pallets and bales of used clothing that nobody wants. They'll just dump it in Africa. You guys remember that? Used cars, all these used cars that we are driving in Africa, they are not good for Western roads. When the American community or the DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, says this car is not roadworthy, there are people who actually specialize in that right now. There are platforms that specialize in that, like auction export platform. They specialize in selling Western cars that are not roadworthy for the West, is what they buy and dump into Africa. So the majority of the accidents that we see happening in Nigeria or in other African nations, yes, partly you can blame the roads. But for the most part, we are driving bombs, unsuitable vehicles, vehicles that are unsuitable for American or British roads or Canadian roads is what Nigerians are driving as new. You are going 70 miles per hour, you step on the brakes, it doesn't work. So we are consumers. We are also consuming poor products. And then when we are not consuming poor products, guess what we do? We create locally made poor products. It's bad enough that we're bringing in things that the rest of the world doesn't want, but we are also creating things internally to poison the African community. Beer. I've never heard of sachet beer before until Niger. Sachet alcohol that NAFDAC is cracking on right now. And people are saying this sachet alcohol, they are so easy to make, they are so easy to sell that it's causing a lot of issues for minors. You have it, you here in the United States, you have to be 21 and over to buy alcohol in the US. In Nigeria, you can send a 12-year-old to the supermarket to buy you a crate of Gouda. Nobody's policing anything. Are they even carding you? When was the last time you were carded? If I walk into a store right now in the United States to buy liquor, the first thing they'll look at me and they'll say, "Show me your ID." And then they'll scan your ID to make sure that that ID is actually legitimate and not fake. Do we have such guardrails in Nigeria to keep underage kids from consuming alcohol? Do we have such guardrails? Do we have guardrails in Nigeria to ensure that we are not importing dangerous goods into the country that can kill people? We don't have such guardrails. It's a challenging, I'm telling you, it's Africa is a challenging place to do business. Good, still do it. I'm not saying don't go and invest or source, just highly challenging. You got to almost build your own guardrails. So Africa is not appealing to the West like that. So if you're saying, oh, they're coming, maybe we come or the West comes in and just import all of your raw materials or your bulk foods. You look at Nigeria right now, we don't really have processing capabilities. So what happens is countries like India, they'll come in, countries like China, they'll come in, they'll set up their own little processing plants in Nigeria, process bulk raw Nigerian crops in raw form, export them cheaply back to China, reprocess them in China, and sell them to US at premium. And then they'll stamp made in China on the bag or made in India on the bag. That is raw material extraction, raw product extraction, raw crop extraction, because we are not investing in the systems to be able to go from farm to the processing facility to a temperature controlled storage facility to transportation systems to then sell to the world. We don't have those in place. So people just kind of look at Africa right now as a place where they can come and just let's just go and extract what we can, bring them out of into our own country where we all have the system. It's the same thing that happened with Venezuela now. All the oil deposit that Venezuela has, they didn't have the systems to process their crude oil into refined oil without American intervention. They didn't really have. So it's not just having raw materials or you got to be able to process them into finished goods that people want. So, hey, listen, we love Africa. We think everybody keeps saying Africa has potential. Of course, now we know. But potential doesn't pay bills. You got to be able to take these things and turn them into, that's where the true value chain is the innovation. Is the innovation. That's where the value chain is. The value chain is not in the middle. It's at the beginning, at the end. How can we innovate? And then how can we get it out to the end user? Once you're able to solve those two problems, then what happens in the middle is just, is basically labor. Okay, now we've figured out, we've brainstormed, we've decided the systems. We know the end user, the application aspect of it. So now you've tied the application aspect of it to the innovation aspect of it. Then the middle is just labor. That's what Africans are good for. Bring them in to carry sand from here to there. Bring the truck drivers in to truck these raw materials from the origin uh, place to the port where we control. But we don't want to do the hard, we don't want to do the manual stuff. Let's just hire a couple of trucking companies, just truck it. Get it from the mine, truck it to the port that we can export it abroad. We need to solve the middle. We Africans need to solve the beginning and the end of the value chain, of the supply chain process. That's what Dangote has done. He's innovated, he designed a system, and then he also solved the end of that supply chain, meaning the end users. He solved that problem. End users are the Nigerian petrol stations. End users are um, foreign countries for export. He has solved that. But we need more Dangotes. Name one other. What are the other industrial companies out there in Nigeria that has solved the beginning of the supply chain and the end? Innoson hasn't solved both. He doesn't have the design. He doesn't have the engineering. He doesn't have the innovation. And he damn sure doesn't have the end user. Because Nigerians are not buying Innoson cars. And Innoson can't export if there's no Nigerian adoption yet. So Innoson is just a local. I know some of you guys like Innoson. Because here's the thing. Once Innoson has solved the beginning and the end of the supply chain, he now also has to now deal with how is he going to compete and win with other automakers in the world. Since Innoson wants to make luxury cars, how is Innoson going to compete with Lexus, Mercedes, other than copying their design? Think about it. Innoson has a version that looks like the GLS Mercedes, doesn't he? So you copying a design doesn't make you, because why am I going to buy a look-alike when I can go and buy the real deal? Nobody wants to drive in a look-alike Mercedes GLS for $20,000. GLS that costs $200,000. If you truly want, they're gonna laugh at you like, ah, this one with the drive fake GLS. So Dangote has solved the beginning and the end of the supply chain. Everything else in the middle, there's really no true value there. None. So what other brands do we have? Retail brand. Let's just go. Let's do consumer markets. Retail. Do we have any retail brands? Do we have Nigeria's version of Heinz? Nigeria's version of what am I drinking? Where is our? I'm a bourbon guy. Where's the Nigerian spirits industry? Do we have that? We don't have a spirits industry. So you see how Africa is not really that. For those of you who are beating the African drum, we are okay, but let's not get too cocky. Let's not get too cocky because it's not as if you look at the number one country, the number one nation in the world right now that has pretty much practically all of the rare earth minerals in the world is China. They can supply the world with everything, raw materials, rare earth minerals. They can. So can India. So can all these South Asian countries. They don't have anything really. Africa doesn't have anything that those guys don't already have. So we love Africa. I'm one of those pioneers. I champion African as a continent and all that stuff. But let's not get too cocky. And also with this whole Iran thing, let's not get involved. We have more to lose than gain. Let's not get involved. I think we are doing, Africa as a nation right now is doing what it needs to do. Stay out of it. Don't take any sides. Don't take one side or the other. Definitely, if you're going to choose a side, you don't want to choose a side that's losing. If you are going to choose a side, Iran may not recover from this war in our lifetime. They may not. So if the leaders, if they ask you about what's going on, give them a rhetorical answer. You know what is unfortunate that is happening? Um, we will do whatever it is in our capacity to help broker a deal between the US, Israel, and Iran if they need us. We will be more than happy to help broker the deal. Leave it at that. Don't say, oh, America is killing Iranians. Don't say Iranian is don't just leave it at that. Um, Nigeria wants to power its way to space with generator and candle lights. That's Tinubu now. We talked about that. We are optimizing something that shouldn't exist. You see, I'm okay in support of the space program from a theoretical standpoint. Space studies, I'm okay with that. But when you are talking about, oh, we need to go there, with what rocket? that you are going to import from abroad. So we can do space studies, fine. But the way that Tinubu is pushing this is, oh, space is going to solve Nigeria's problems on Earth. No, it's not. Energy is going to solve Nigeria's problem. And also, I've given you guys a bit of how we just got to keep from the local government up. That is why I like what Umoino, my governor, the governor of Nigeria, of Akwa Ibom State, is doing from a rural standpoint. Umoino is starting, and CJ, maybe this is something that Alex Otte is probably doing too in Abia. They are now starting to pay more attention to the rural part of their states that has been neglected for decades. They're not starting to pay attention to those. We are already seeing results in Akwa Ibom State. Right now, I can speak for my village. They are they are modernizing the road in my village today as I speak. So attention and focus on the rural parts of the states is what Umoino, my governor, is doing right now. And I'm pretty sure OT is also doing it right now too. How can we how can we modernize these rural parts of Nigeria? Modernization also comes with education. We got to educate the people on technology. We got to educate the people on digital because most of those rural areas now they are still operating on cash. You know, person go carry money put for bra. So Obi has discussed insecurity and economic investment in agriculture and diversifying beyond all. But yes, we need details regarding insecurity. That's it, just a step-by-step program. You don't have to wait until you get into office with the president has this renewed hope agenda where it has the pillars, the roadmap. You don't have to wait until you get to office to develop a roadmap. Where is the roadmap during the campaign trail? It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It could be, you see, me, I'm not interested in 25-year roadmaps because I feel it's too long to force focus. I'm interested in a 4-year roadmap. The first 4 years of your presidency, if you were to become president of Nigeria, take me through that roadmap of the first 4 years of your presidency on tackling insecurity, development, infrastructure, education, artificial intelligence, not just technology, specifically artificial intelligence. What is the roadmap on how we're going to get there? It's easy for you to broadcast it, put it on the internet, stand on it every single day, paint a picture. Even Tinubu, with his renewed agenda roadmap of 25 years, still can't articulate it pillar by pillar. If I, an educated Nigerian professional abroad, can't understand the renewed hope agenda, best believe that the local Nigeria can't, if they even know such a thing exists. I don't understand the renewed hope agenda. I don't get it. None of the pillars. There are certain decisions that has been made that make sense, like the unification of the exchange rate system. I love that. Now we have a centralized marketplace where the market dictates the strength of the naira or the strength of the dollar against the naira and vice versa. The market dictates it right now. It's not abokis dictating it, and it's not central bank will have their rates. Then the abokis will have the BDCs, the Bureau de Change people. So I like that reform. I also like the reform of the fuel subsidy removal. Those two reforms alone, Tinubu is doing and did extremely well because Nigeria couldn't afford subsidizing fuel. Outside of those two reforms, I still don't know what else Tinubu stands for. outside of those two reforms? Okay, so security reforms, he is working alongside the West as far as like securing the country with training of the soldiers with the United States. Okay, I'll give him that. But I still don't know of the most important reform in Nigeria today should be the energy reform. Even Trump's security. We are just happy with generators and solar power. You see, a solar system may power a four-bedroom single family home. But the current solar system in Nigeria right now can't power a factory, an industrial operation. It can't. An industrial operation in Nigeria today still has to be powered with high capacity diesel generator that costs 50 million naira. And it's probably going to cost you maybe 10% of that to run it every year because you have to buy the diesel. If it breaks down, you have to repair it. You see, a small to medium-sized business they can't afford it now. So they got to use those small 30 capacity, maybe 30 liter, 15, 10-liter generator is what they have to use as a small to medium-sized enterprise. But if you want to operate from an industrial scale, you have to invest in those high capacity 50 kVA generator sets. Before I do that, I will process in America. That's what we are currently doing right now as we are scaling our crayfish seasoning business. Instead of us to go and invest all this in Nigeria, we are just going to do a little small refinement in Nigeria and then complete the processing here in the United States, where I don't have to buy a 50 kVA generator. I can just invest in a small packaging machine, in a small sorting machine out there. I can do all that from my facility here in Las Vegas. Package my product and sell it to the world. That's why Nigeria is a difficult place to do business. Because otherwise, I would have to what? Spend money. Not only do I have to buy the gen set, then I got to do what? Buy the diesel that keeps going up and down. And then I got to sit up there and train the workforce on certain behaviors that I want. And then I got to sit up here and be stressing on management where I can just bring all those things here. It's going to cost me a little bit of money, but I can hire local contractors here that can give me exactly what I want. Exactly what I want. African continent was colonized for 60 years. Yes, now. Look it up. I don't know about neo-colonialism, but African 60, less than 100 years. Neo-colonialism, colonialism altogether. The African continent was colonized for less than a century. Less than a century. Look it up. We need proper presidential debates. 100%. Africa remains exploited and backwards, however, often perceived as we might fail in our attempt to achieve sustainable development. Our leaders are holding us back. I hope this my generation will. That's from Learn with Hadijat. Where are you writing from? You see, it's not exploitation, it's just the way it is. I don't look at it as exploitation. Listen, somebody has to use those. Nobody's preventing Africa from processing their own raw materials into finished product. Are they? Is it as if the world is saying, you guys don't nobody now. That's like somebody coming into your hotel and telling you how to run your hotel. You are free to run your hotel as you choose. Nobody's preventing Africa from utilizing our natural rare earth mineral to not only develop Africa, but also export into the world. The problem is we don't have the know-how and we don't have the expertise and we don't have the systems in place to do that. So then what is the next option? If you have all these raw materials that you don't know how to process into finished goods, you sell it as is. That's what's happening. So the president of Nigeria, I'm just giving it as an example. The Nigerian government will look at all. Remember when Jumoke said part of what we are doing with foreign direct investments is we are going to be bringing in foreign nationals and taking them to all of our natural resources. We are going to be giving them a tour of all of our natural resources. That's what Jumoke said. And then we are going to sell it to them. That's not how you develop a nation. That alone just tells me that we are not ready. That is their plan. Bring in foreigners, give them a tour of Nigeria's natural deposits. This is what we have silica sand. This is what we have lithium. This is what we have these raw materials needed to make chips. But unfortunately, we don't have light. We don't have the machineries. We don't have the workforce. You do. And then the foreigners will say, hey, we got the workforce to process this into batteries. We got the systems to process this. We got the front, the beginning and the end of the supply chain. We got it all locked. And Nigeria will say, okay, since you have all that, how much do you want to pay for it? Then the negotiation starts. All right, we want the rights to this facility for the next 20 years. And then in exchange of the mining rights to this facility, we will give you money to build your roads. That's literally what's going on right now. How much do you need to build your roads? Okay, we'll take 5 billion. But then the foreign direct investments are looking at the lifetime value of mining rights. We, with this mining rights and with everything that we have going on, this is an easy $30 billion payday for us. Easy. But since the Nigerians only want 5 million, no problem. We'll give you the 5 billion, no problem. We'll give you the 5 billion that you want, knowing that for the next 20 years, this is going to return a good 30 billion for us. That's what's going on. Hey, Jeanette. Hi, Nelly.
Hi, my name's Jeanette.
It's not Jeanette, it's Jeanette. Hey, wait, Jeanette, go throw this coffee out. It's cold. And if the coffee pot is still hot, I want more. Ask your mommy to help you though. You're gonna spill. You're gonna spill. Okay, so pour that out and wash the cup. What's up? Can you go in my car? For what? What's in my car that you guys want? Okay, go, but don't enter from the pavement side, not from the roadside. You guys can go to my truck. Uh, be part of the breakout from this capitalist system. But yes, Nelly. She went inside to make me coffee. Tell her not to spill, Nelly. uh, hey, Nelly, yeah, we know, we know. Don't touch Daddy's mic. You're gonna break my neck. You're so cute. You're so cute. All right, what other questions do you guys have before we go?
Yeah, but Can
I have a kiss?
Yeah.
Kiss.
Ah,
Kiss.
I want a kissy.
No.
Please.
Please?
Please. I said Please, Daddy. Stop. Please, King Daddy.
King Daddy? Okay, I love it.
Mm,
That's my alter ego, King Daddy. Yes.
Daddy, look at
What you got? My beard?
Mommy.
What happened?
Ow.
I'm sorry. So my idea is to focus on creating industrial. Hey, Nelly, that is talking. So my idea is to focus on creating industrial energy clusters and ensure. Remember that the slave trade happened before the official colonization of Africa. And have you heard of King Leopold? I've heard of. I don't know too much about King Leopold. All right. Hey guys, okay, Nelly, I have to sign off. Okay, you want to sign off for me?
Yeah.
Say, well, how are you going to sign off?
I don't know. I,
Say, we will talk to you next time.
are you all done?
I'm all done. Say, thank you.
Okay.
Say, subscribe. Hey, you guys say that all the time. Subscribe.
Subscribe.
Say it again.
Subscribe.
Say, subscribe now.
Subscribe now.
And say, talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
All right, guys, I have to sign off and start my enjoy my day, okay? I'll talk to you guys later. CJ, let's catch up later now. Hey, oh man.